I don't know if this is the right community to post this in. If it's not, I apologize. But what happened has left me feeling anxious, paranoid, and genuinely scared ever since. I, a 15-year-old female now, used to be part of an organization at church when I was 12 years old. I clearly remember it was Holy Week when this happened. We were scheduled to do a midnight Station of the Cross. It was supposed to start at 12 a.m., but due to rain, it was moved to 3 a.m. I arrived at exactly 1:57 a.m. and was greeted by the parish priest, who was heading upstairs to the convent. I went to the parish hall, where the other church volunteers and I were gathering. I placed my things down, and a few minutes later, one of my co-volunteers, let's call her Ashley, arrived. Ashley and I were close, so we chatted for a bit. Around 2:30 a.m., she said she was hungry. I told her there was a nearby 7-Eleven that stayed open 24 hours. We grabbed our bags and walked out of the parish hall. Most of the lights around the church were still off, and it was hard to see anything outside. The only lights on were those inside the church itself. As we were walking through the corridor, to our right were large doors with clear glass panels depicting the Stations of the Cross. I happened to glance inside and froze. There was a priest kneeling at the altar, but what shocked me wasn't just that he was there while the main church doors were still locked. It was that he had no head. He was wearing red vestments and holding a blue rosary, body facing the altar, kneeling in prayer. I told Ashley to look. She saw it too. We ran, terrified, straight to 7-Eleven, where we bumped into some of our church officers who were also heading to church. By then, Ashley and I were already outside the church grounds. We told them what we'd seen, and they were visibly shaken. After grabbing what we needed, we walked back to the church. It was around 3:10 a.m. by then. That wasn't the only experience. It was Black Saturday that same week. My co-volunteers and I were attending Mass inside the church. We were seated in the first row of pews. Our church has a Facebook page where they upload pictures taken during services, and a photographer had taken a picture of us. None of us were facing the camera. We were all looking toward the altar. The next day, the pictures were posted online. As usual, we checked them out. Only this time, something was very wrong. In one of the photos, there was a woman dressed in a black lace dress with curly hair and a black veil. She immediately stood out because she was seated among us, right between two of my friends, while all of us were wearing white dresses and white veils. We were creeped out, especially because the exact spot she was sitting in was where I had been standing. I saved the photo and showed it to my parents when I got home. They were just as unsettled and immediately called the priest. He came over to bless our house and family. That's when I learned that this wasn't the first time it had happened. That same woman in black had appeared in photos taken in that exact spot during previous Black Saturday Masses. It had happened twice before. What I saw made it the third time. After that, I never returned to that church again. So, for the past few months, I've been seeing what seem like spirits coming into my room at night. Some try to talk to me, while others are terrified when I even look at them and quickly hide. A few of them seem light and joyful, but they hide too. The strange part is, I can't hear what they're saying when they try to talk to me. They seem to hide behind objects already in the room, and sometimes they can move things, but in ways that don't make sense physically. For example, some of them hid inside my dresser last night without opening it. The drawers weren't a problem for them. It was as if two planes of existence overlapped, and I was seeing both. One spirit in particular wanted to speak to me, but it felt like she wasn't allowed. She showed me an unmatched sock inside the drawer, one I know I didn't put there. For some reason, that scared me deeply. It felt like she was sending a message. My body tensed up, and I felt the energy in the room shift. And then, an evil entity appeared. I couldn't hear his voice either, but it was like he knew I wouldn't be able to. He spoke extra slowly so I could read his lips. He laughed at how scared I was, like it genuinely amused him. First he said, "Pray, bitch," and then laughed even harder before saying, "Not here for you this time." He never broke eye contact. The whole time I could feel another spirit in the room, hiding on the floor and crying, sobbing uncontrollably. After a moment, the evil presence vanished, but not before taking some of the spirits who had been hiding in the dresser with him. I tried to ask the others what had just happened, why it happened, but they wouldn't tell me. The spirit who had been sobbing was too afraid to even look at me. Later, I brought her some tissues. She didn't take them while I was watching, but in the morning, I saw them on the floor. I also saw the sock the other spirit had shown me. Every time spirits visit me like this, I can't hear them, even though they're clearly trying to talk. And when I get too close, they disappear. They've never tried to hurt me. In fact, they seem like they need my help, but I have no idea what kind of help that is. They don't show up in photos, and my husband can't see them at all. Sometimes a group of them will just come in quietly and hide while I'm falling asleep. I'm oddly okay with that, like my energy can coexist with theirs, and I'm usually able to drift off. But the entity from last night, he was different, stronger, darker, dangerous, like he was out for blood. The energy in the room became thick and heavy, and my whole body snapped awake the moment it shifted. Has any of this happened to anyone else? I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm just looking for answers, or even someone with a similar experience. Please, if you can help or relate in any way, let me know. For a while now, I just chalked it up to my bad short-term memory, as I'm dyspraxic. Things keep going missing. My keys, my computer mouse, my wallet, the fucking silicone food brush. I search high and low for these things, only for them to eventually reappear in obvious spots that I already checked multiple times. In the past 2 days, I've started just asking, "Whoever took the item, can you please give it back to me?" And the object will reappear nearly immediately. Again, somewhere I already looked. The first time I asked, which was yesterday night, I heard 2 footsteps immediately after my request. After hearing the footsteps, I went downstairs to the living room to look for the missing item, and it felt like someone yanked my hair. It was pretty aggressive, and actually hurt a decent amount. I couldn't have caught it on anything nearby. I was standing out in the open. A few moments later, I found my missing item, the computer mouse, sitting right on the living room table. The hair yanking and the footsteps made me feel seriously uneasy, especially since both things only happened after I acknowledged whatever the hell is in my house. I also heard pans banging in the kitchen a couple of times later that night, just a few hours after the hair pulling incident. Acknowledging whatever's here seems to have escalated things. What kind of spirit or entity do you think might be in my house? And what do you think I should do about it? I've considered calling a priest because I do not want the physical aggression, like the hair yanking, to escalate, but I'm not sure. If this is something I can handle on my own, I'd rather try that first. I am a paranormal investigator in Virginia, but before moving here, I lived in an area of Maryland about 45 minutes northwest of Baltimore for 15 years. The area has a rich history, and much has occurred there over the years. The story I'm about to share is one that happened to me while investigating a place very near and dear to my heart, Springfield Mental Hospital. The Springfield State Hospital Center was once a private estate and working farm owned by William Patterson, who made a large sum of money running the British blockade and settled in Baltimore in 1778. The hospital was established in 1895 in response to the urgent need for a new psychiatric facility in the Baltimore area. The existing buildings were renovated to accept the first patients in 1896, while new buildings were still under construction. Interestingly, the early patients were placed in these buildings without barred windows or locked doors, and they behaved so well that the Board of Managers had the new facilities constructed without such features. The main campus consisted of a men's group on the north side, the women's group on the south side, also known as the Warfield Complex, and the John Hubner Psychopathic Building, which provided administrative and medical services. Like many other state institutions, Springfield faced severe overcrowding in its early years. By the 1940s, the population had swelled to over 3,000 patients. In the 1980s, the hospital consolidated much of its operations into a smaller, more efficient complex, leaving the historic buildings to decay. The presence of asbestos and other hazardous materials has made demolition or remediation costly. Springfield Hospital Center still operates today in newer structures on the grounds. In the fall of 2012, my friend, who I'll call M for privacy reasons, and I conducted our first paranormal investigation on the hospital property. We were new to the field, but we had done our research and studied our equipment, so we knew what to do and what not to do. We arrived at the property around 10 p.m. and reviewed our investigation plan. We had overhead maps of the property and marked known active locations. As we stood there, we both began to feel a heavy, oppressive sadness settle over the area. It made sense, given the countless patients and staff who had lived, worked, and suffered there. Our first destination was a location we called the Old Main Building. This building looked ancient. The outer walls were visibly decayed and corroded. Mother Nature had not been kind. Despite the state of disrepair, you could still see signs of how much craftsmanship went into the masonry. Inside, the paint on the walls and ceilings was peeling badly. Many windows were broken, with glass scattered across the floor, and debris was everywhere. The deeper we ventured, the worse it became. From the moment we stepped inside, we felt like we were being watched from every direction. We entered a smaller area where part of the wall had collapsed and had to climb over it to continue. As we moved, M snapped photographs every few steps, hoping to capture something. About 10 minutes in, we found a surprisingly bare room. We sat down to conduct an EVP session. I used my iPhone's audio recorder, and we began asking questions. Are there any spirits here that wish to communicate? Did you pass away in this hospital? Why were you admitted here? Do you like that we're in your building? We did this for about 20 minutes. As we were reviewing the recording, I heard what sounded like footsteps and shuffling just outside the room. Then, a few minutes later, both M and I heard a piece of wood hit the ground. We immediately got up to investigate and found a 3-foot-long 2x4 lying in the hallway, about 5 feet from the door. M pointed out that he had taken a picture of that exact piece of wood earlier, and it had been over 15 feet away from where it now lay. We documented this and continued deeper into the building. The feeling of being watched intensified. About an hour and a half later, we reached an area that felt like it was pulling me in. It was small and cluttered, so M stayed behind to continue filming while I climbed over debris to investigate. I assumed it was once a small hospital room. I didn't have a flashlight, but I used my iPhone, which had a night vision camera app. As I scanned the room, I saw it was long and rectangular. I began walking forward when I suddenly felt something in front of me, blocking my path. The presence was unmistakable. I spoke aloud, asking any spirits present to show themselves. What happened next changed my life and confirmed my calling in this field. My eyes were drawn to the far right corner of the room, where a figure began to manifest out of the darkness. It was a woman in what appeared to be a patient's gown. She began to move toward me, not aggressively, but curiously. As she got closer, I could see her features: dark brown shoulder-length hair, deep green eyes filled with sadness, pale skin, visible cuts and bruises. Her gown was the turquoise kind you'd see in a hospital. She wasn't floating. She walked toward me naturally. She stopped about 6 to 8 feet away. We made direct eye contact. What struck me most was her expression: sad, lonely, and afraid, but also relieved to see me. Later, during a spirit box session on another visit, we learned she had been a patient there for 7 years. She didn't know why she'd been admitted, and she said she couldn't find her way out. She had been waiting, looking for someone to help her. As I stood frozen, she spoke 5 words that I will never forget. "Death is not the end." Her voice was full of sorrow, and it was unlike anything I've ever heard. After a few minutes, she turned, walked back into the darkness, and was gone. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, unable to move or speak. I wasn't hallucinating. I have no history of that, nor does anyone in my family. I wasn't sleep-deprived either. I'd had nearly 7 hours of rest that day to prepare. Eventually, I heard M calling for me. I made my way back and told him what happened. He was stunned. That was my first real paranormal encounter. You can choose to believe it or not. It's your choice. Some might think I'm crazy or lying, and that's okay. But I know what I saw, what I heard, what I felt, what I experienced. Thank you for reading. I'll be posting more soon. My neighbor was a scary man. He rarely left his house. He was very fat, tall, and always carried a horrible smell with him. His name was Walter Van Dyke. When I was a kid, I was always scared of him. I used to try to get him to come out of his house so I could run away from him. But no matter how hard I banged on his window or how many times I rang his doorbell, he would never come out. Now I'm 14, and about a year ago, my dad and I realized that we hadn't seen him leave his house in months. That was strange, because he always went out for groceries once a month without fail. We were confused, so we rang his bell, but no one answered. My dad eventually kicked the door open. The horrible smell got even worse. That's when we saw him, Walter, dead on the floor. We called the ambulance, and since then, we haven't seen or heard anything from him. At least my dad and my brother haven't. But I have. I've seen him. Sometimes he flashes by in the hallway. Sometimes he's just standing somewhere like he still lives here. I've seen him at night in my room or in the bathroom while I'm in there. It's creepy. Honestly, I think I might be paranoid, because this kind of thing usually only happens in movies or scary campfire stories, not real life. I've gotten more used to it now, but it's still weird. When I ask my dad or my brother, they say they can't see him, so why can I? Lately, I've been questioning myself a lot. I even tried talking to him. I told him to go to the light. I tried everything I could think of, but nothing worked. He's still here, in my house. And actually, he's standing behind me right now, reading this story over my shoulder. He's everywhere and nowhere, like a ghost out of a story,